Doom vivamus vivamus Epicureans. This is the Marvel Epic Collection podcast. What special edition? Fun Times edition? We're
Yeah, just chat edition,
yeah
talk about some different topics.
yeah we kind of had this thought after the last full episode where we were talking about Fantastic Four Volume 5. We want to have these little chat sessions, talk about what we're collecting, other things like that. But it was making the regular review episode super long, so we thought maybe just separate this out as being its own little thing. So how have you been, Stojer? How are things?
Things are going well. Getting all prepared for Christmas now that the Thanksgiving, hecticness has been over with. Looking to round out the year with some additional purchases and find things on sale where I can and enjoy the time off at the end of the year. How about yourself?
Yeah, about the same. It's kind of always a mad rush at the end of the semester for school. Kids are getting excited, and there's a bunch of stuff that has to be done. But at the same time, finding ways to help it kind of wind down a little bit. So that's been good. Planning on traveling to see family, so that might interrupt our recording a little bit come the end of December. But we'll see. We'll work things around that.
What's travel for you? Do you go internationally, different states? What do you?
I'll be going to my home state of Colorado to see my family. So
Nice.
yeah, so it's always a good time. I'm trying to work in my head if I can. I don't. My family does not live in Denver, but we fly into Denver, so I'm trying to think. Is there a way to get to Mile High Comics? I haven't been there in ages. It's been years since I've been there. Um, Heck, ever since I moved away from Colorado, I don't think I've ever been to Mile High since then. I think they've moved location since then. They used to be in
Hmm.
Thornton, but I think they're actually closer to downtown Denver these days. I don't know, but it's a thought that's going in
Yeah,
my
my
mind.
My experience out there has only been driving through Rocky Mountain National Park, which is a great place, and has that I forget what the hotel's actually called, but the hotel from The Shining
Oh,
at one of the entrances to that. So
mm-hmm. I'm just realizing as we're starting this, I've been wearing this X-Men hat for the X-Men one shots, but it was meant to just be for the one shots. For anything Marvel, I've got my Marvel hat. I really ought to switch
yeah,
here.
you got a costume change, man.
Yeah, I know. A quick glimpse of my receding hair here.
There we go.
Did I do that fast enough?
Everything's better now.
Well, how is the collection going? What additions have you got going on for us?
So recent purchases, there have been a couple things that I have that are up in that are in transit. We talked a lot about Burns era with Shang-Chi
Mm-hmm. What
not
Iron
Shang-Chi, with Iron
Fist?
Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I bought the omnibus for $45 or something like that,
Nice.
wrapped new. So that is on its way to me. Now, what I didn't notice when I purchased the omnibus, not that I'm that beat up about it, is that the contents are the same as the first Epic collection, with the exception that there's a bunch of Master of Kung Fu stories in the omnibus that aren't in the Epic collection, and I think those are all like black and white. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
entirely sure about that, so it's not content that I really needed or wanted, but I guess I'll take it and have the oversized book, and that'll go well with my Luke Cage omnibus that I got at Ollie's a couple of years ago for like 20-25 bucks. That I haven't fully read through, but I kind of like flipping through and seeing, 1970s black exploitation issues there, and
Mm-hmm.
I started to map out in my notebook. I was like, oh well, if I got a full Power Man Iron Fist run, like what would it take to get that? How many books have they actually been over the years, and how achievable is that for me? So that one's in the mail. I did a in stock trades order for DC Finest, The Invisible Luther. That's the second volume of Superman, second volume chronologically. So this is like 1940s Superman action comics type of stuff. And I bundled that with To Hunt the Hulk, which is the November release, I think, of the Epic Collections for Hulk with Sal Buscema and I think Bill Mantlo. I think that's his era. So that is in transit. Although I think the Hulk might be they're getting it from their distributor, so I'm still waiting for the icon to flip from you know to processed or whatever the next
Hmm.
stage is of that. Um, from Cheap Graphic Novels, they had a Black Friday sale. So there was a couple of cheap issues that I got there. Carnage USA, the first modern epic collection for Carnage, as well as the modern epic for Black Widow, Volume 3 Chaos. And I picked up Silver Surfer Volume 14 because, I started to get Silver Surfer ones on sale, and I'm trying to expand my Marvel knowledge. I never was a Silver Surfer, fan, so I didn't really have these issues, but I was able to get a few of them. So now I kind of want to complete the run and see what all the different versions of Silver Surfer are. All three of those were like less than $25 each, so they were on sale, pretty cheap. And then Amazon, I picked up this book. I haven't opened it up yet. Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. Now it's drawn in. I mean, Alex does the writing and the art,
Hmm.
but it's not like the normal painted kind of hyper realistic Alex Ross art inside. It's him doing something a little different here. This was co-published by Abrams Comic Art as well as Marvel Comics, and that was less than $10. Amazon had it like on some 60% off discount, and I just added it to my cart when I was ordering some batteries or something else. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that for myself or give that as a gift to one of my nephews or my kids for Christmas. And then I kept seeing people going to Ollie's picking up omnibuses cheap. They got some restock of things. So if you have a local Ollie's, you should check it out. They have I think it's the the last volume of Incredible Hulk is available there. There was a She-Hulk, and these are all omnibuses. The last volume of Incredible Hulk by Peter David was there. There was a She-Hulk. I think it was the Dan Slott She-Hulk omnibus. And then there was Black Panther by Christopher Priest. This is the late 90s, the era for where Daredevil was rebooted, Black Panther, Punisher. This is that Marvel Knights era
Mm.
of book. There, it's got some really interesting art in here, some good writing. Apparently, I haven't read through it yet. I had some of these issues back then, but I didn't really follow this. And I had picked up some other. You can kind of see it right there. The Black Panther by Tahasi. And so I have that. So I need to kind of sit down and do a read through of Black Panther. And then my last book here is Captain Marvel, which still has a sticker on it. I'm considering giving this to my daughter. She's only 6, so this might be one of those things I read to her at night, or keeping for myself, or in essence, it would be both. If I gave it to her, it's here. But I'm trying to decide what to do with that. But for $34, picking up what is this 20, 30, 45. I mean, it's close to 50 issues of a book. You can't go wrong. And this is where Captain Marvel has the new costume for the first time. So this costume she really created or started to come into her own in a Avenging Spider-Man issue. It's one of the few Avenging Spider-Man issues that I don't have. And it's because it's now worth a lot of money if you have that issue. So she wasn't always in this costume, right? If you go and look at Captain Marvel books, like she's in Binary and had different costumes over the years while she's in Avengers, but everything people now know from the movies started here, at least as far as her look and things like that. So that's what I got. What do you got?
Yeah, let's see. I had a couple of orders come in. Uh, in terms of Black Friday deals, I basically in stock trade seemed to have the best deals for things that I was looking for, with what 42, 48% off, something like that. And I've gotten to the point now where they don't have a whole lot left on there that I don't already have. So I basically just bought every single Epic volume that I didn't have while it was on sale. I'm still waiting for those to show up, so those haven't shown up yet. But I did have one eBay success, Avengers West Coast Volume 3. Still paid more than I would prefer to on this, but I got lucky in that someone had listed it as Volume 2 instead of Volume 3, so it didn't gain a whole lot of attention, but this is one that's gotten more expensive these years. So my one eBay success there. I did have an in stock trade order from last month that showed up. Uh, let's see, Iron Man: Age of Innocence. This is one that I think is God. This came out maybe a year or two ago, a couple years ago, and I think it's going to be 2024 is when it came out, so it's gonna start getting a little harder to pick up as the years go on. I know nothing about this. I think something about Tony Stark has been turned into a child or something like that. I see the young Tony, I think, is there.
Yeah, we talked about time travel in one of our recordings recently, and this is the post the Crossing Avengers time slide where Tony goes evil, and then they go back and pluck Tony from the past and bring him to the present. And
Did
this
they?
is right before Heroes Reborn. This is the last Iron Man volume before Heroes Reborn, and they just reset everything anyway after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what that is. I also picked that up recently too. So.
So yeah. Yep. Again, that's from that era of the '90s where I dipped out of comics for a little bit, so I don't know much what's going on there. Got a couple of Daredevil ones. Let's see which here. This one is chronologically first. This is Into the Fire. I distinctly remember that cover. I think I had a few of these issues in the '90s. When they were coming out, I was just kind of dabbling in Daredevil and a few other things. So, again, I don't really know a whole lot about it. Daredevil is it's like Daredevil and Captain America are kind of my two blind spots in many ways for
Mm.
the big characters of the Marvel universe. And I think Daredevil was always one of those ones of they created him to be quasi in the same mode as Spider-Man, right? That same kind of everyday guy. And I read the first epic, and it kind of feels like that, right? Most of his villains are actually Spider-Man villains. So there's a part of me that thinks either I'm going to be interested or I'm going to be annoyed by Daredevil. And I look forward to reading more and just finding out more. I know he does eventually come and do his own, uh, particularly with Frank Miller and that whole thing. But I haven't read any of that stuff. That's
Yeah, and the
part.
Miller stuff is before this. So this
Yeah,
is, you get Miller, you get the Ann Nesenti run, and then you get this kind of lull where, I think there's still some good stuff in there, in this era. Um, I forget if it's that book or it's the one right before, right after. It's in the same neighborhood, but there's a couple Spider-Man team up issues in there, which I really enjoyed back then. Um, uh, they fight some villain called like the Surgeon General or something like that. It's just, but it's a lot more street level stuff and things like that. So, yeah, you might enjoy that. And then really when Bendis takes over Daredevil with just the modern epics, Daredevil's been pretty consistently amazing since that era. I mean, there's been some not as strong as others, but
sure.
since that Marvel Knights era of the '90s, Daredevil's been pretty solid.
Well, yeah, and I was reading the Bendis Daredevil books as they came out because who wasn't at that time. I think I fell off because I was living overseas. It was hard to get comics regularly, and I just kind of dropped everything except Amazing Spider-Man, which I broke down and just got a subscription to because it was the easiest thing for me. So I have kind of a second dip in my comic knowledge in the late 2000s. Well, no, actually, yeah, late 2000s, early 2010s until really getting into the epics is what's gotten me back into things again. So, anyway, second Daredevil volume. This is 18. Again, this I think this has some stuff I was picking up when I was a kid, and read here and there because I distinctly remember that new costume. And
Mm.
I think I might have somewhere the first issue. Oh yeah, I know I've got this one with that cover. That cover always stood out to
Yeah.
me when I was a kid. So, yeah. Uh,
It's interesting that that Fall from Grace storyline. It's got some great art in it. Although Scott McDaniel wasn't as consistent over the Daredevil run, so I actually think so. Like while I enjoy his art in that storyline, as you read the rest of that book or the volume after that, if you happen to have it, it's not my cup of tea.
mhm.
Whereas I look at Scott McDaniel's Batman work or his Nightwing work, and I actually like that. So like I don't think um, he quite found his footing back then for me until a little bit later. But yeah, I own like 3 copies of those single issues somehow, like of that Fall from Grace. They remember those. They had them at like department stores. Those like they would put like storylines of like Marvel stuff in like a box, like and it would have like a little hanger on it. So like they would
Oh
just
yeah,
sell like
yeah.
little box of
Collections. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, of 4 or 5 issues in it. And they had some like good issues in it back then, and I think I've gotten like 2 or 3 of those over the years. So that Fall from Grace storyline, I have like 3 or 4 copies of the single issues for some reason.
So that wasn't 90s comic speculation like Spider-Man #1. You just stumbled upon it because you're getting those little boxes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't even collect it at the time. I think I got it. Maybe it was the speculation in the sense that there's so many issues, so many copies available, and that's how I stumbled upon getting them so cheap. But yeah, I mean, this is like, this is Daredevil getting a new costume, killing off the Matt Murdock character for a period of time. This is Daredevil's version of Batman getting his back broken, or the Spider-Man clone saga, or any of those other things. This is
Right.
them trying
Yeah.
to make Daredevil gritty for the 90s.
Yep. So let's see. Last thing I got from that in stock trade order is Tower of Shadows, Lost Marvels. So I prefer the epic format. I like the thick trade paperbacks. But if this is stuff that I don't think Marvel is ever going to collect again, then probably need to pick it up. So I have the other. This is Volume 1 of the Lost Marvels. Volume 2 is the Howard Schenken one, which I think I showed off previously. So don't know anything about this, but one of these points when school's not in session, I'll be able to sit down and read some of these things and see how I feel about them.
So is that like Marvel horror? Is that like vampires and stuff like that, or what is that?
Tower of Shadows, yeah, I think this is horror. So I don't think it's specifically vampires, but just general horror. Which I'm really not that into horror. There are some things. Well, I mean, here, this'll got some big names in this. The Tower of Shadows #1 stories written with art by Jim Steranko. Uh, Second story written and artist Johnny Craig. Third story written by Stan Lee. Pencils by John Romita. Inks by Don Heck. Right. So some there's one with Neil Adams doing the art. George Tuska. Gene Colan. So yeah, some of these just great artists of Marvel in the kind of the late Silver Age. Uh, oh, there's a Wally Wood issue #9. So it'll be worth it for the art, and I'm sure some of the stories will be interesting too. But uh, yeah, I guess this is. I don't know if this was meant to be. I'm thinking about EC Comics, right, and their Tales from the
Hmm.
Crypt. I don't know if this is supposed to be their version of that. This would be too late for that. Marvel would have already done something like that when they were Atlas Comics, I would think. But yeah, I don't really know anything about it. Just if it's in the Lost Marvel line from Fantagraphics, we're probably not going to get it as an epic, so that's why I decided to jump on it.
Nice.
And then I had my pre-orders. God, I had so many books and so little time to read all this. So pre-orders, Doctor Doom Volume 1. This, pretty much have already read everything in this from the Fantastic Four epics. There's only one issue in here that is not found in those. That's Marvel Superheroes number 20. So really the only reason to have this is because I'm a completionist sicko. If I'm going to have, I'm hoping, I think Volume 2 of Doctor Doom is going to have the Tales to Astonish stories, which was his solo stuff. But if I'm going to have Volume 2 on the shelf with that, then I'm a weirdo and I want Volume 1 too. So I'll go for that. It might be fun to read these in the context of just Doom's stories separate. There are some volumes that do that well, like the Incredible Hulk Volume 1 that's just his storyline. That one is, but it's mostly Avengers books. That's done really well. The Namor the Submariner Volume 1, which is mostly Fantastic Four stories, that one still fits very well as a coherent story. But then it can also fall apart. Black Widow Volume 1, which is a bunch of Avengers stuff, is terrible. It just does not work. So maybe Doom in his own story, maybe it works. I don't know, because I've never tried reading just the Doom issues on their own. So
Yeah, I think like Venom works well, right? Because like Venom had so many mini series, and you're sort of following him. So you start off with like all of the Spider-Man stuff, and then a few guest stars and other things. But then Carnage kind of falls off, like Carnage Volume 2 or Volume 3. Like you just get like these little snippets of like, yep, he appeared here and moved forward, and it doesn't feel like a cohesive story. And some of that's because of the character, right? Like
yeah,
Carnage doesn't have a lot of overall motivations or a story or a character arc, whereas somebody like Doom or Namor or Venom is going to have more of that.
yeah. Makes me wonder, should we delve into Carnage Volume 2 at some point? That one's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, Doctor Strange Volume 12. Again, this is mid 90s, so this is about the time I'm in my Marvel Dark Age. So I don't know what's going on here. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, but the penciled art on the inside, it's not bad, but it doesn't. We definitely have a separate cover artist for this, and I don't know what issue this comes from.
Is that the time period where he flips into like a completely different look, in the 90s with like the long hair and the
Yeah,
glasses and stuff like that? I see that omnibus at Ollie's sometimes, like I think it's like Doctor Strange Volume 3 or something like that. And I just always the look of it always strikes me because it's so different.
yeah. There's a little bit of a mix because I don't know what issue this is, but here you've got Doctor Strange in his typical look. But I know uh, I've seen the long hair. Oh, hey, look, there's the cover.
Oh yeah.
What is this? This is Midnight Suns Unlimited. Uh, let's see. I know I've seen some with Doctor Strange with the long hair, but I'm not seeing it now. Oh, maybe it's at the end of this volume. I keep looking forward. Maybe it's towards the end. Um,
It's something like a late 90s thing.
yeah. Well, maybe. Wait. Oh, here we are. That this might actually be the first. I don't know because again, I haven't read these. That maybe this kind of looks like this is meant to be the unveiling of that new look
Yeah,
with that
maybe
splash
it might be
page.
the beginning of it.
Yeah. So that's in the tail end of the book. Um, yeah. Geez, very very last page there. So
Yeah, yeah.
that might
It's probably the
continue
next
on.
volume that would have. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. I don't know if there's a volume 13 out. Give me a second. I'm pulling up my checklist on my phone. Um, but I know Doctor Strange is definitely one of those series that has certainly jumped around, like all the epics have. Let's see, Doctor Strange. There is a volume 13 called Afterlife, so that probably definitely has a lot of the long hair.
Now, when you pull up your checklist from your phone,
Mhm.
do you have an app, or are you using just like something you like a spreadsheet that you have, or what do
Yeah.
you use?
So I made a I if I had planned, I could pull this up on the screen, but I have basically made a checklist in Apple Numbers. Here, we'll see if this is what I do. So I've got all the basically have copied the entry from Wikipedia. I've added little checks off to the side. So the ones in green are ones that I have. Blue ones are one that Curtis Finley has done a podcast on. So whenever I read one of those, I know to then go listen to the Epic Marvel podcast, listen to that episode. Oh, here you can see red one hasn't been published yet. Green dot on the side, those are ones I've read. So this is just how I keep track of things. And then I've got a list of what's coming. So there's a Fantastic Four 13 there, the yellow checklist. I pre-ordered it, but Keep It Red is haven't been published yet. So anyway, that's the method to my madness.
Yeah, I have a and I'm gonna let the dogs out here, so you're gonna see me pop up here because they're gonna continue barking. I use an app called CLZ. It's like a book, movies, comic
I want to see
inventory
more of the
app, so you
dogs.
can.
Wait a minute.
Oh, they have to pee, so they're running out there.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, so the yeah, so CLZ is a pretty good app, not sponsored. So people should go check it out. There, I know there's a couple different apps out there, but CLZ is a pretty good database app for this stuff. And so I use that for everything that I have. And you can tag like what location it's in. So like these are all tagged to on my bookshelf. If I wanted to
Hmm.
get specific with the long boxes, I could specify what long box it's in. And it pulls in covers automatically and issue details. So I basically manage like when I got it, and how much I spent on it, and even that with all my single issues I don't really do. But because the bookshelf is only the last 5 or 6 years, I actually can go back and fill in like, all right, how much did I pay for this? And then if I'm ever going to sell it, am I turning a profit? Am I which I haven't ever done, but at least like it'll keep me honest where I don't try and sell something for like way less than if I overpaid for something on eBay or something like that. So CLZ is great. Otherwise, I use my iPad and I just have some handwritten notes where in Good Notes, which is just a note taking app, and I list out like all of the like the long forward upcoming releases, right? And
Hmm.
because my goal is to get every run up on the bookshelf one way or the other, whether it's epics, complete collections, omnibuses, or custom binds. So I have a whole like Captain America. I have like one epic collection up on the shelf and two complete collections. That's about it. But I have all of the post Heroes Reborn Captain America through like the Sam Wilson Captain America, like that block of time,
Hmm.
that I might just custom bind, which is probably like 200 issues or something like that, maybe a little bit more. So I have all those as single issues, and I just have to spend the time and money to mail them off to the bindery and get them set up.
Yeah.
So that's my madness.
One of these days, we should do a separate episode talking about that custom binding because I want to learn more about that. But I think we'll save that for another time.
Hmm.
All right, I've got just four more here. You were talking about getting this one, Stojer, Hulk Volume 10. This is To Hunt the Hulk. So I managed to get mine coming in, and you're right, Mantlo and Sal Buscema. Herb Trimpe appears to be on there as well. Again, Hulk actually is talking about the characters I have blind spots on. Hulk is another one I have a blind spot. I know very little of the
Hmm.
Hulk. I happen to have all the Epic collections just because I stumbled upon a guy on I think it was maybe it was Facebook who was selling his whole Hulk collection, and it was for a fairly reasonable price. So I just it was at that point I realized, okay, I'm going down this rabbit hole. I'm getting all of them. It's just what I'm doing. Venom Volume 6, Planet of the Symbiotes. I feel like most of the stuff in here might have already read in a Carnage epic. Oh, and you know something I noticed? I noticed on this one, and I think it might have been on the Hulk one too. So these are some of the more recent volumes to come out. I think they are changing things in these epic volumes. It used to be, or in most epics, you have all the bonus material at the end of the book, right? Well, not
Hmm.
in this one, right? There's no bonus
Hmm.
material in the back. However, in between some of the stories, we're getting, instead of those filler pages, we're getting the bonus stuff in between issues.
Hmm.
So I don't, it, and it wasn't just this Venom one where I saw that in, but I saw it just now as I was flipping through it. I think it might be the case in the Hulk one too. Let me look real quick.
Well, it also might be that some of these, I mean, like with that Venom one, I would argue that there might not be that much bonus material because, yeah, and maybe that makes sense to intersplice it. And I know that with the modern epics, with they're putting there's so many variant covers in the modern era that I think they're putting the variant covers with the issues
That makes
sometimes.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, here in the Hulk one, you've got the original art there before getting into the
Oh, that's
final issue.
surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and now this Hulk one still has some extra stuff in the back, so this one hasn't completely abandoned it. But some of the earlier epics had the interspersed.
Maybe they're finding people didn't realize that it was there because they just kind of ignore the material. And whereas if you get the original pencils for issue whatever, putting it right next to the issue
Makes it
gives it a
easier to
little bit more of a
look.
spotlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's something I think worth paying attention to going forward to see if that is an actual change in format that's happening. Um, Maybe Curtis knows something about that. I certainly don't, or Omar or someone. Let's see, Micronauts Volume 3. Again, I know I picked up issues here or there when I was a kid, but don't really know much about it. They're plowing through these Micronauts volumes. I'm thinking by this summer I might try to binge read the whole series. When I'll have time and when they'll all be out. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that a big part of that too is like licensing, right? Like
Yep.
Marvel doesn't outright own the licensing for that, so they learned from some of their past mistakes to try and get all that stuff published. The same thing with like ROM. I think they cranked out 3 volumes of ROM this year
Yeah.
to get it moving.
And I think there's like two more on the way of ROM. Here,
Yeah,
I'll check my checklist. But yeah, it losing Conan, that was a shame. I enjoyed those Conan volumes, and I am now Titan, who now has licensing for Conan. They've been putting out omnibuses like crazy for Conan. I have been tempted to pick those up, but I prefer the paperback. I would rather they be in a thick paperback format than the big
mm,
hardcover omnibus. It's just not my thing. Yeah, let's see. Volume 3 of ROM, I think, might have just been released, and they've got Volume 4 on the books. If Volume 3 hasn't just been released, it's being released this month.
yeah, yeah.
All right, last one I got. Spider Girl Modern Era Epic Volume 6. I've not read any Spider Girl before. I've read little bits and pieces again. I might have picked up some of these issues in the mid to early 2000s when I was kind of getting back into comics. But for the Epic collection, we've got Volume 1, 5, and 6, so I'm going to wait for these to all be collected in Epics. And they have the complete collection that has Volume 1 through 4, and I think that's why there's the big gap is they're trying to finish it up for those who started with the complete collections. And hopefully we'll get,
Yeah, I thought that was great that they
yeah,
did that. I don't own any of those. I have the single issues from when they came out of the first, I want to say like 40 or 50 issues. I followed it for a while,
yeah.
but not all of them. I think they went to like 100 issues or something like that.
I admittedly surprised myself a little bit because when I was flipping through this one earlier, there's Spider Verse stories in here, and I thought, now wait a minute, I thought Spider Girl her main series ended before the Spider Verse. Well, apparently not. It
Well, that's not where are those issues from? Because they revisit the character during the Spider Verse, but I don't think she had an ongoing at that time.
Spider Man family. It sure looked like Spider Verse stuff.
That I'm not sure what that is, to be honest with you. I don't remember that.
Well,
I'll let-
maybe I'm wrong. It is entirely possible. Do you know what
She's in the
years?
Spider Verse, so you're
Right.
not wrong. I just wonder if they, because that's the last volume. I wonder if they just like there's like a 10-year gap there, and they included, they ended with issue 100, and then you get the Spider Verse stuff because that's the next time she appears. Is what I'm trying to say.
Is that when did the Spider Verse happen?
Uh, um,
I can't remember.
2009, something like
2009.
that.
Okay. Well, then I guess this was before that because this said 2005 was the Spider-Man Family one, and this volume goes up to
Um,
2006.
I don't have any years on this in the Spider Verse thick trade.
Doesn't have the years.
Um, no, I'd have to look it up. But the so I mean the Spider Verse happened in the Dan Slott era in the volume of Spider Man after Superior Spider Man,
Right.
but before the Marvel the whole Marvel Secret Wars. So it was maybe even a little bit later than 2009. It might have been more like 2014, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Without me googling it and lowering, forgetting about the stream. What and so yeah, I don't know where that Spider-Man family thing comes from off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I know that the character is in Spider-Verse, so that's why that would be why some of that's there. But I don't think she had, unless she had like a different ongoing, because so after the original Spider-Girl series, there was like there was a second series, it was like the Amazing Spider-Girl or something like that.
Was there?
Yeah, and I don't know how long that went on for. But I
Uh,
don't think that they were run at the same time, but it could be wrong.
yeah, I just did a little quick Google search and don't know how accurate this is because it's just the first thing that pulled up, but at least the Wikipedia seems to think 2014. So I guess I'm wrong. I don't know what that Spider-Man family thing is then. So I'll find out eventually when I get around to it. But
Okay.
I think like Micronauts, Spider Girl's another one of those. I want to wait until that one is a full thing because it's an alternate timeline. It's separate from everything else. I think I want to just read that in one go whenever I'm able to. So
Yeah, and what's nice about that is, I mean, Spider-Girl kind of came out right after the Clone Saga, or thereabouts.
yep,
You know, what was it, Pat O'Leaf, and did a lot of the art early on, maybe with Ron Friends. So they had very consistent art through most of it. I don't know when you get to Volume 6 if they were still on it, or who was doing it then. And they had a whole future there. Like there were other side books that were out at that time. I mean, none of them lasted as long as Spider Girl, but you had like Fantastic Five. You had, there was like a J3. It was like a Juggernaut's kid
yeah, I
book.
remember something about Juggernaut. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's decent reading. It's definitely like that old school writing, but with a futuristic setting.
yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to call it the Ultimate Universe before the Ultimate Universe, but it was they quasi had success with Marvel 2099 as being this separate universe, and it was like they were setting this up as N2, right? The second Marvel universe of
Mm-hmm.
the future. But yeah, like all these things, they tend to fizzle out over time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all I have for my new purchases. Stoger, should we take a short break?
Yeah, let's break and we'll talk about some other things afterwards.
All right, we'll be back in just a second. All right, we're back. I think what we're gonna do now, we are envisioning that these conversation shows we're gonna mirror with the review shows. So the review shows are taking place the second Sunday of every month, and I think our goal is to maybe make these the fourth Sunday of every month. Does that sound right, Stoger?
Sounds about right.
Now we're starting a little bit late this month because we've only kind of just come up with this idea, and we thought rather than waiting a whole month, we'll just do it now. And honestly, the next show is probably going to be a bit delayed too because I'm going to be out of town at the end of December, so that might be the first week of January instead. But given that we're going to be looking at what's to come right in the next month, we thought, well, let's take a look at the new releases. So I'm going to if you're watching the video, I'm going to cover up myself here. Well, that wasn't very elegant. It didn't fade in, but that's okay. Technically, these books have already come out, Stojer, but real quick, what came out this week? All new Wolverine Modern Era Epic Collection, The Four Sisters. What were you thinking on this one?
So I'm torn on this. So I'm not picking this up right away because I need to find some constraints in what I'm putting on the shelf. I'm not sure what I'm going to do personally with modern Wolverine in general. There's a lot of it that's going to be collected in omnibuses. So there's a part of me that wonders if I'm just going to, keep the epic collections in the original Wolverine series and then transition to omnis for here. This is all Laura Kinney Wolverine, sort of, so X-23 when she's not X-23 anymore. And for me, like, what I like about this though is that it is like a full run, right? So this is like the series that ran at this time was only the amount of issues that are in this book. So I think that's what's intriguing for me, but I'm holding off on that for now just because I'm kind of holding off on Wolverine post his volume 1. What
Yeah,
about you?
um, I'm a completionist. I'm going to grab it. I don't know anything about it. I don't think I was reading Wolverine at this time, so uh, I don't know how interested I am in this. I'm assuming this is after that storyline where Wolverine dies at the hand of of the hand, right? The ninjas. I'm assuming that, but I don't know. I remember I read that when it came out, but I know nothing about this. All right, let's
Yeah, so yeah, it's after the death of Wolverine, definitely. So
all right, DC Finest, Superman, The Invisible Luther. Stoger, you already said you pre-ordered this one.
yep. So this one's in the mail, or will be soon. I don't expect myself to be able to like read through this like in one sitting. It's 1940 Superman writing, but I did enjoy flipping through and reading specific stories in the original Superman volume. I have an
You've
intruder,
got a friend. Hi.
and so I'm going to kind of continue this.
Do we need
Why
to?
don't you give your thoughts while I evict my intruder?
Sure, no worries. I read the first Superman DC Finest, and I enjoyed it from an historical perspective, right? It's the first superhero comic. It's something I had to read, so I did that. I don't know if I really care. I've never really cared that much about Superman, so I don't know if I'm going to pick it up. There's a part of me that, again, is intrigued because it's 40s comics, and that's interesting. I think I'm going to focus on Batman during this time, but maybe. We'll see. I might... if I find it for a good deal, I might just do it.
Yeah, what I like about this too is it's not jumping around. So like, if I decide to cut bait on Superman, then I have like the first couple years of Superman and I stop, from that era. But if this was, I might have hesitated if this was like, 1950s Superman and, it was jumping 10 years into the future because again, I'm not, the completionist in me would want the whole thing, but I don't know that I necessarily care that much about these stories yet.
Yeah, I'm realizing that the program I've got, this is just Apple numbers. It's causing the same problems as the comic viewer sometimes does. We're losing frames, so hopefully in the video this is not too bad. But we might need to go quick because we've got family that are waiting on us anyway, right? My wife is ready to go too. Hitman Omnibus, Garth Ennis, John McCrea, if I'm saying that right. I know nothing about this.
Yeah, it's a skip for me. Not my cup of tea, so not grabbing that right now.
Yep. Submariner, Epic, The Invasion of New York.
The art looks great in this, like, and it looks intriguing, and you got Spider-Man on the cover, which makes me want to get it. But I'm not a huge Namor fan, where I need to start to collect his own sort of epic collections. So I'm also skipping that.
Yeah, I like the early Namor where everything's under the sea and he's got his empire and stuff. I really want Volume 2 to come out, the Tales to Astonish issues. But that one hasn't. This one I think is Volume 5. It's a shame I don't have that in my on my record here. So again, I'm a completionist, so I'll get it. But when I get around to reading it, I don't know. All right, Star Wars. This is an omnibus, two different covers here. Doctor Aphra, Friends and Enemies.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Aphra is a pretty popular character in Star Wars. For me, I only have like a couple of Star Wars books on the shelf. I feel like this is like if I open up this world of Star Wars comics, then I'm gonna dive into a whole, I'm gonna spend way too much money because so for me, I'm sort of not collecting Star Wars and keeping it at arm's length. I've read some of these on the Marvel Unlimited app and things like that, so these are good, but by the same token, I would probably go for the Epic collections over the omnibuses, which I do think that they are putting these things out as modern epics. I don't know if this exact book is out as a modern epic, but this era they are also releasing as modern epics.
Yeah, I have no clue who Doctor Aphra is. I don't really care about Star Wars. You could convince me to read the original Marvel years of the Star Wars comics. I did buy the epic of the Ewoks and the droids because I remember that Ewok cartoon show from when I was a kid. But otherwise, I really just don't care. All right, let's get into next week. Whoops. Next week will be December 9th. And first one coming out here, DC Finest Wonder Woman, introducing Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, so this is interesting, but I've thought about collecting some of the Wonder Woman DC Finest, but again, I haven't been the biggest Wonder Woman fan over the years. Maybe if they get into that, 90s or 80s George Perez era of Wonder Woman, I might jump into some of that stuff. I know some of the modern stuff they've already released, like so I think some Gail Simone volumes of DC Finest for Wonder Woman. But I don't have any need to be a Wonder Woman completionist, let alone to go back to this era.
I think this is probably the one Wonder Woman volume I am going to pick up just from that historical perspective, right? She's one of
Hmm.
the big three for DC. This is the first time she's being introduced. I used to several years ago, I taught U.S. history to seventh graders, and I did a little project where they read the first issue of Wonder Woman and the first issue of Captain America, and tying it into World War II. And didn't go over as well as I'd hoped because kids don't like to read even comics. Um, but I find it interesting. I find it intriguing. So I might pick this one up. All right, how about Doom Patrol by Keith Giffen and Matthew Clark Omnibus?
Yeah, not one that I'm picking up. I'm glad it's out there. Not a huge Doom Patrol fan. How about you?
Yeah, know nothing about it, and so no interest. Fantastic Four by Wade and Wieringo, Authoritative Action. This is a complete collection, so they're still putting out these complete collections. I don't know if this is a reprint. I think it might be, but Stoger.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a reprint, but this feels like something that might just be a reskin to a modern epic or an epic collection when they decide to do that. So if you're trying to get Fantastic Four in epic collection format, I would pick this up. I already own the omnibus for Wade and Wearing to go. I highly recommend this era. I think Wade's writing is really good, and we lost Mike way too soon. So in his art is this is probably some of the best representation of his art. I know he did Spider-Man books around this time or before this, but his Fantastic Four was really solid. So I would get this if I didn't already have it.
Yeah, the Wade Fantastic Four and Wieringo. This is a great era for the Fantastic Four, which Fantastic Four kind of ebbs and flows in many ways, but this was a great time. Um, I'm gonna wait for it to be reskinned as an epic. I don't know if it will be. I hope it will be. I would assume that the Wade era of Fantastic Four would be the first time we get the modern era of Fantastic Four issues or volumes. I don't know that though. Nothing has been announced. Um, but the fact that this is actually being reprinted as a complete collection suggests that if there is going to be a Wade era Fantastic Four, that's going to be a while.
Yeah, because there's four thick trades, complete collections of Heroes Return Fantastic Four that are right before this. So you get all of the Epic collections up to Strange Days, and then they haven't released what's next yet. And then that leads into Heroes Return, or Reborn rather, and then there's Heroes Return, which is the four thick collections. I might have said the opposite, but and then there's this. So now this authoritative action volume, I don't think is the first part of that. I think this is maybe like the second part, but because there's like a Doom arc that's I think before this. Um, I think you might be right. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say this is where the modern epics would kick off, but this might be also modern epic volume 2 versus volume 1.
Yeah. All right, this is an intriguing one and a hard one for me. Marvel Team Up Omnibus Volume 1. Two different covers there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, this is one of those ones that I'm going to hold off on, but I might pick up later. I'm not huge into one and done stories, so I like the overarching storylines that certain books have. That's what hooks me, has me coming back. But as a completionist or a historical view of things, I'm super glad this stuff's out there, and I might pick this up at some later date. What about you?
Yeah, I want to have all the Spider-Man stuff. I do like Team Up. It is weird. It's not always good, but it's a fun product of its time. I want it to be an epic though. I want it in trade paperback.
Yeah.
I don't like the hardcovers. So I will get the hardcovers if I think I'm never going to get it in another format. But I'm gonna hold off. I might regret that decision. I feel like I'm already regretting that decision with the Spectacular Spider-Man and the Web of Spider-Man volumes that have already come out in omnibus, but we don't have an epics yet. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hope we get those in paperback. All right, X-Men by Jerry Duggan omnibus. Two different covers there.
Yeah, so this is one that I'm not getting because I decided I'm getting the Krakoa era in the other omnibus format. So what they've done with the Krakoa era is they've released creator-centric omnibuses, and I already have. I got it really cheap, like on in stock trades for like $18. The Jonathan Hickman omnibus. It's not an overly thick one, but still, I mean, for $18, that was super cheap, right? And I got. So I do have a creator-centric omnibus that I need to sell or get rid of. But if I decide that the other version of the omnibus, which is not creator-centric, so they're weaving every title during the Krakoa era into one omnibus. So you don't, so I have X-Force, Excalibur, Wolverine, X-Men, all of that stuff in reading order in the Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1, which you can kind of see over my shoulder. I can't do the inverted thing over this shoulder. So that sort of gray thick book right over my right shoulder. The red one next to it is the Hickman one. But I'm kind of torn. Like if I change my mind, I might come back and get this and sell the reading order one, because the creator centric one is really tight. It's really solid with the storylines, because all of this stuff kind of pulls together. And I heard some good stuff about this. I think this has the X-Men Red Era, which has a team of X-Men on another planet. I would highly recommend this if you're going the creator centric route of reading Krakoa.
Yeah, you know my thoughts on modern X-Men. It's too much of a mess for me. I don't know what's going on. So at some point, I don't know if it's better to have just the creator, to have all the stories intertwined. I want all the stories intertwined, but I'm not gonna risk it on a hardcover. If they come out as epics, I'll read it then. All right, let's get into the third week of December, December 16th. We're going to start off with an Epic Collection here, Avengers Epic Collection Time Slide. I think this is volume 27. I might be.
Yeah, 27 or 25. I forget which one.
Yeah, you
I
know
have it
what?
in my notes here.
I'll check my list. I
Yeah.
gotta do a huge amount of scrolling here to actually get back up to Avengers. This is going to be 27. Yeah.
Yep. So this, I mean, this is a must buy for me. This will put me at only needing volumes 14 and 15 to have a full run of Avengers on my bookshelf from volume one, 1963, all the way through volume. Uh, well, there's another book that we're going to talk about that comes out this month. So I'm going to say all the way through volume 40. Once I get that other book that we'll talk about in the last week of the month, because I'm collecting this stuff in Epic collections, and I have some complete collections, and I have omnibuses. So this is the last volume before Heroes Reborn. After Heroes Reborn in the Heroes Return era, I have the omnibuses, as well as the modern epics for Bendis's era. So that takes you all the way to issue past issue 500. I think it's like issue 550. So getting this, there'd only be two books that I'm missing. Once I get through December to get almost 550 issues of X-Men, I'm sorry, Avengers, up on the bookshelf.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm getting it because of the completionist thing. I don't know anything about the Avengers in this era because again, this is my dark period of the mid late '90s. So
You'll need this. This will help you with the Iron Man epic, Age of Innocence, that you talked about earlier,
mhm.
because this is an Iron Man crossover. So if you wanted to understand why there's a young Tony, part of that's in this book.
All right, let's head on to a new omnibus. This is Daredevil and X Force omnibus.
So I'm not getting this stuff in omnibus format. I have the X Force Epic collection, so not a buy for me. I think this is technically like X Force Epic Collection Volume 2 or something like that, but they're playing around with the way that they. I'm sorry, X Force Omnibus Volume 2 or Volume 3. I'm not sure which, but they're playing around with the branding of these things, and that's why it's Deadpool and X Force. Um, I think we have all this content in Epic Collections. I want to say Epic Collection Volume 2 or 3. Probably 3, probably like Epic Collection 3 and 4 of X Force, but somewhere in that neighborhood. So I already have this up on my shelf, and I'm not getting Deadpool, so I'm not too worried about anything that might be missing from the Deadpool perspective.
Yeah, I we talked before we started recording that a better way to do this in the future that will actually have the issue numbers in here when we show them on the screen, which I don't have right now. So I don't actually know what's in this volume. But as you say, I think I've got this already because I do have all the Deadpool volumes and I have all the X Force volumes. So yeah, not worried about it. This one I'm interested in though. Hawkeye Epic Collection Mark for Death. I think this is volume 3. I think this is maybe it's volume 4, but it's the fairly certain this is the last Hawkeye volume uh,
It
of
is
the
volume
classic era.
3, and it is the last one for the classic era. So this will complete another line for Marvel Epic Collections, which is great. So I'm going to be picking this up. I wasn't the biggest Hawkeye fan, but I kind of stumbled into it. So not only will I have volumes 1 through 4 with this, but I also have the first modern epic, which is the reunion. And while the second modern epic is not out, I own the I think it's called. I mean, it's a complete collection, basically. The saga of Barton and Bishop, which is an excellent volume of Hawkeye. It's frankly, the whole reason that I wanted to go back and read classic Hawkeye is because I like this so much, and I think that will eventually be reskinned as Modern Epic Volume 2. So that would take Hawkeye all the way from his introduction in 1964 all the way through 2014.
Yep. And I think this is not just Hawkeye stuff, right? This is Avengers Spotlight 22 through 40. I'm looking through my personal list here,
hmm
and I've read bits and pieces of these, but I think some of these do feature other characters and not just Hawkeye. But I
And if I
read the
remember in Curtis's preview, they did not cut this up. So sometimes when that happens, they'll just show like the Hawkeye section of that book, but they are including the full issues of those Avengers solo here, as I understand it.
Yeah, which is awesome. I read the first Hawkeye epic, and that was great. And that was necessary reading, I think, before Avengers West Coast Volume 1, which we're going to review next Sunday.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a good volume. So I've always been into archery, so I kind of like the Hawkeye stuff, even though he is a character and I don't care about. But I like a dude with a bow and arrow. Hence why I'm getting the green arrow DC finest.
I mean, those are some great stories in the Green Arrow ones, from what I understand. So that's a good pickup.
All right, final week of December, December 23rd, Christmas Adam, as we call it in my household, because Adam came before Eve. It's the day before Christmas Eve.
Ah, well,
So,
and the day after Christmas is St. Stephen's Day, my dad's
ah,
birthday, but also our namesake because I'm a junior. So
there you go. All right, so let's see. First up here, Avengers by Johns and Copiel Omnibus.
this is a
So,
huge gap filler for people that are doing the omnibuses, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. So with the Avengers Time Slide Epic Collection, with there's only being two epics as a gap. So volumes 14 and volume 15. 14 is solicited for April, so we'll talk about that when we talk about 2026 releases in general. We'd only be missing one Epic Collection volume to take you all the way through from the beginning of Avengers all the way up to the new Avengers, the Bendis era, the modern Epic collections, which start right after this. So this is the last set of books before the modern era Epic collections, and it fills the gap after the Hero's Return by Kurt Busiek and George Perez. And this is Johns and Copiel, their issues. And I think there's another writer in here. I'm trying to remember who else was writing, but they merged them together into sort of one epic. They're not bad stories in this era either. I don't mind them. There's some invaders issues. There's a really solid storyline called Red Zone in here that I remember. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this as somebody who doesn't mind mixing the omnibuses and epic collections.
yep. I don't really know anything about it. Again, it's a hardcover, so I'm gonna wait for the epic if we ever get an epic. All right.
I mean, these will be the last classic epic collections that there will be for Avengers. So whatever numbers they end up being, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 or 36 or something like that. So we talked about 27 earlier, but so this is a little bit in the future for that. But this will be the last one because right after this is the modern era.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, ROM Epic Collection Volume 3.
I've toyed with getting the ROM ones, especially since
Toyed.
Volume One's so cheap.
Sorry.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, since Volume One is so cheap on in stock trades, it's somewhere between 20 and $25, depending on the percentage of sales right now. It's got some Sal Buscema art. I haven't pulled the trigger on that. When I do, I'll probably get 1, 2, and 3. If you are thinking about getting ROM, just like if you're thinking about getting Micronauts, do it because these volumes, you don't know if the licenses are going to last forever. Marvel doesn't outright own the licenses for these, so they are pumping through the publishing of these while they can. But I think you are more interested in this than I am.
Oh yeah, yep. I remember a bunch of back issue comics I read as a kid. There was the Wraiths and other things with ROM kind of getting interspersed occasionally. I think they even show up in X-Men for a little bit. So yeah, I have an interest in ROM. I've got a couple of ROM issues here and there from when I was a kid. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm interested. I'm looking forward to this, and I like the weird stuff that Marvel does. I and this kind of fits into that category of this is unusual. This is not your typical superhero book. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking that up. And honestly, that also kind of feeds into that final thing that we have coming out this month. This is Warlord by Mike Grell Omnibus. Stoger, do you have any thoughts on this one? Because I do.
I know absolutely nothing about this other than there was a Superman War. Well, this is Warlord. I'm
Warlord, yeah.
thinking of War World. So yeah, I know nothing about this actually.
Yeah, this is another one of those weird things that I know I had an issue of here and there as a kid. I'm not a huge DC fan, but I like the different stuff. I don't remember much about this, but I like Mike Grell. I'm probably one of the only weirdos out there that was introduced to Mike Grell because of Star Slayer, which was a independent comic that I think it might have been with First Comics and then became Pacific Comics or the other way around, something like that. His art is fantastic. So Again, I don't want an omnibus. I'd rather this was a DC finest. So I'm gonna hem and haw over this one, and maybe if it ends up cheap at Ollie's at some point, then maybe I'll grab it. But this is gonna be one of those I'm gonna have to think about. I have no idea what issues are in this. I don't know how long Warlord went. If this omnibus covers the entirety of Warlord, then maybe I'll just pick it up to have it all as one. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested.
I think well, I don't know how what much it ran, but I just brought up the solicitation real quick. It's issues 1 to 50.
Wow, that's
So
a lot.
this one's a chunky one.
The fact that
You're
they
looking
end
at, well, actually, it's not as big as I thought. Maybe those are thin issues or just his stories or something because it's only 736 pages.
the fact that it ends on such an even number like 50 suggests that this is not the entirety of the series, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I do not know off the top of my head.
No, you're probably right. It says the first 50 issues of Warlord series, indicating that there's more. So yeah, this is whenever they do the volume one on it, there's an expectation there's a volume two. Like if this was all the
Yeah.
entire series, it would just say the Warlord by Mike Grell. So yeah, there'll be a volume two at some point if this sells.
All right, fair point. That's the other thing is here I'm gonna hide this numbers thing so you actually see my face again if you're watching the YouTube. That is the other thing that makes me concerned is I want more of this, which means if they're gonna make more, they need to see good sales. So it's an argument of maybe why I should pick it up. It's why I picked up the cross-gen omnibuses. Again, I don't want them as omnibus, but I knew that if those did not sell, Marvel wouldn't keep doing them. So I picked up the two. We've had no announcement of there being a third, so I'm worried that my concern may have come true that Marvel's not going to come out with any more of those.
Yeah, and just going back, you don't have to bring up the viewer, but just going back to that Deadpool, I realized that I have a computer here now. I'm not doing this on my phone for this episode, so I can actually look things up and help. But I don't know why I wasn't doing that when we were talking.
It's all good.
So the Deadpool and X Force one collects X Force 19 to 31. So that has been collected in the Epic collections that are out in either the Toy Soldiers one or the one before that, or both. It might straddle those. Cable 1 through 8. So that's the part
Nice.
that's not collected in these Epic collections. That might actually interest me in getting it. Now, there's some Cable issues in the X Force Epic collections, but they are the Cable limited series. I don't think they've touched anything in the Cable main series yet. Deadpool the Circle Chase 1 through 4 and Deadpool 1 through 4. I feel like the Circle Chase is in there, but in one of the X Force epics.
It's definitely
But
in
I
the
don't think
Deadpool
that.
volume,
Well, yeah, but
but yeah,
not. But
X
if
Force, I
you're
don't
only
know.
doing the X Force, I think the Circle Chase is in there, but I don't think that the Deadpool 1 through 4, which to your point would be in the Deadpool epics, the Deadpool main series is not in the X4 epics. And then the last two issues were New Warriors 31 and Nomad 20, which I think both of them. I know the New Warriors one is in the Epic collections because that's the crossover with X Force. The Nomad one's probably there too. So if I have a feeling it's there. So you're missing out on the Deadpool main series 1 through 4 if you're only doing the X Force epics, as well as the Cable 1 through 8. Again, but if you're doing Omnis, if you're not doing Omnis at all, then you're avoiding this to begin with. So
Yeah. All right, Stoger. I think there was just one last thing we wanted to talk about. Do you want to just jump right into that, or do you need a pause?
what were we talking about the 26 stuff,
Um, yeah.
or
What we hope
what was
is
the last thing? I forget. Oh
we're
yeah, what we hope for 26.
yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah. So we were going back and forth on like whether we were going to do something overly formal or not. So we are going to talk a little bit about what we're hoping for 26. So for me, what I'm hoping for 26 is that we continue some of the gap filling in the classic epic lines, right? So I want to see, in the second half of 26, Avengers Volume 15 solicited for. I want to see. I want to see them continue to fill some of the gaps in some of the major areas, like they started to do at the end of this year and into the beginning of next year, on things like Thor and Fantastic Four and Avengers in some of those major storylines, and they're doing that, even though I'm not jumping on those. So, for instance, I already have the Byrne and Fantastic Four omnis. I think I'm going to skip the Epic collections and just have a mix of things on my shelf. I don't feel the need to rebuy that stuff as an Epic collection. The same thing with the Thor Epic 13, the Surtur War, because that covers what I already have in the Walt Simonson omnibus. And I'm only missing I'd only be missing out on like 2 fill-in issues overall of Thor, and I'll live with myself there of not getting that. But I want to see more of the gap fillers so that they can start to open up some new lines. I really want a Spectacular Spider-Man line. Sort of made my peace that I'm getting that in Epic collections or in omnibuses instead. So I would really want to see some maybe a Web of Spider-Man or Spider-Man sort of family line would be nice to sort of fill in those gaps there. I'd be interested in seeing like a West Coast Avengers, like them wrap that up with a final volume. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Force Works. Probably more than one volume if they go into Force Works completely there and sort of wrap that up. There's some gaps with Daredevil that they're starting to fill in with the era of Miller, Frank Miller. So I'm hoping that they continue there. I'd sort of lump that in with some people probably have those same omnibuses, and just like I do with the John Byrne Fantastic Four stuff. So yeah, I want to see them close out some classic Epic lines so that they can open up new ones in the classic era and continue. That's really what I'm hoping for. How about yourself?
Um, I guess I have similar hopes, honestly, because same as you, I want to see some new lines, and I know we're not going to get that until some of these close out. But Micronauts is closing out. They're probably going to get close to closing ROM out. I'm not sure how many more volumes of ROM we should be expecting, just because I don't know. I don't know how long that goes. But yeah, I would love to see some of those be replaced by Spectacular Spider-Man or Web of Spider-Man. That would be my hope and dream. But there's so much amazing Spider-Man that I'm not going to expect Spectacular or Marvel Team Up to be showing up anytime soon. We'll probably get something else. And if they're on this run of doing these toys that have become comics, there's a part of me, this is my long shot hope, right? There's a part of me that hopes that maybe we get a collection of Crystar Crystal Warrior. That's another one of those weird ones that Marvel did in the 80s that was also based on a toy line, or at least had a toy line related to it. So that's my long shot hope. I guess my other long shot hope is, as I just mentioned, the cross-gen stuff. I'd love to see those in Epics, not expecting it at all. But of something that's maybe a little more plausible, I would like to see some of the sideline 90s books, like New Warriors. It came out as an omnibus, so that might be cool to see put in. There's some other weird 90s characters that I don't know if we would ever get them, but I guess this is another long shot hope. Something like Sleepwalker. Do you
Mm.
remember Sleepwalker at all?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't really read much of his, but it's weird. I don't know if you could do just like an epic of these weird solo characters that had short runs, like the awesome slapstick. So stupid, but so fun. So that'd be cool. Something that's more likely, yeah, filling in those gaps. We're probably gonna get more X-Men, more Fantastic Four, more Daredevil, filling in the gaps, and I'm totally cool with that too. I do want to see the completion of these long runs. What do you think the
Yeah, I
odds?
mean,
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think we, yeah, no, go ahead. The odds of what?
The odds of the Heroes Reborn. What do you think the odds of that happening are? Because we're coming up
I
on those
mean,
with a lot of these runs.
the, what's interesting with the Heroes Reborn is, so if we're talking about Reborn specifically, they're all only 12 issue runs. So the there's a part of me that doesn't want that because one, those stories weren't well received, and two, you can make an argument that they could skip that era entirely and just kind of keep it off to the side. Um, and But there's not really anything you can bundle with it because you end things and then I mean, I guess they could publish the Heroes Reborn and reprint the return issues at the end and beef every one of those volumes up to 16 issues. And then you end up with double dipping across at least the four lines of Fantastic Four, Avengers, Captain America, and Iron Man. um, Maybe that's what they'll end up doing. They'll put that crossover because they double dip with the Onslaught stuff across the last volume of all of the classic epics for those characters. So maybe they just kind of continue that double dipping and then get into the return era for everything, which they've published as complete collections for most of them, if not
Mm-hmm.
all of them. Um, and I guess my most wanted would be the Roger Stern era for Amazing
Oh
Spider-Man,
yeah.
though. You kind of touched on that, and I missed it. And as you were talking, I kind of flipped through my book, my notes here. Again, same sentiment that I was talking about earlier, but closing the gap with Wolverine. There's two volumes in volume 4 and 5 that they is like Mark Silvestri era that they haven't reprinted yet. That I'd really like to see them close that gap. There's a couple volumes of X Factor. They were kind of on a little bit of a tear there with completing X Factor, but there's one volume at the end to get the last volume, depending on what they're going to do with Mutant X, which was the spin-off series after X Factor. And then there's some double dipping of like the Inferno era in the middle there. X Force, again, they were continuing that, so there's still some meat there in the middle that they can touch on to kind of close that era off of. Um, X-Men itself, it would be good to get like that Flanex Covenant and the Wedding of Cyclops of Phoenix era. I'd like to see that because I have a lot of that other stuff after that as complete collections. So it kind of, I want the things that I'm missing versus the double dip, the rebuying or the reskinning.
And that's
But
the
I'm happy to have people get it for either. But go
yeah.
ahead, yeah.
That's the era of X-Men that I remember I was reading as they came out as a kid. Like I had all those Phalanx Covenant covers, which at the time that was difficult for me to put together because that was they were hologram covers, so they were more expensive and there were a bunch of them, but I managed to do it. So I have fond memories of that era, even if it's maybe not the best X-Men stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, from other classic lines that they could wrap up, I mean, I think Carnage is done unless there's some, content before that Carnage Modern USA and Volume 3. There might not be. I mean, there's a time gap. There's 2005 to 2010, but I don't think Carnage was in anything during that time period. So I think Carnage is done. Venom is, from a classic perspective, is pretty much done. They didn't release the Maximum Carnage volume yet, but I don't think that there's a volume 8 of Venom. I think there might be, um, but I'm not really clamoring for that. So
Yeah.
they can start to put their attention to other lines with that. So yeah, those are some specifics. But I think generally speaking, I'd like to see the back half of 2026 finish off some lines so that we can get new lines solicited for 2027.
Yep. Well, we will find out this Thursday, December 11th. I think Omar announced that he and Curtis are going to do a reveal show. I don't know what time, but they'll be talking about the epics coming out then. So I'll be tuning in. I'll be looking forward to that. Um, any other just general desires, wishes, wants for 2026, epic, omnibus, or otherwise? DC finest.
I mean, I just hope the prices stay down. I mean,
Ha.
honestly, like in stock trades adjusted their percentage off for DC Finest, so now they're instead of being, and I know this is a very U.S. centric comment here. Those that are in other countries are gonna, let's say stop whining here. But the DC Finest were like 17, $18 release week. Now they're 21 or 20, which is not that big a deal, but you can just potentially see that climbing up. But the Epic Collection costs are kind of getting out of control, to be
Yeah.
honest, right? You look at some of these on your bookshelf from years ago, and they were $40, and now they're 55. And I think there's even a $60 one solicited somewhere. And maybe I forget if it's that Avengers or if it's something in the future. So yeah, the prices of these are going up a little bit too much. Yeah, Avengers Time Slide is solicited for $60.
Jeez. Yeah, when I first started doing this, because I think I've mentioned before that I tried to just stay off the physical comics and read only on Marvel Unlimited, and I found I just wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't keeping up with it. And when I started deciding, well, maybe I should pick up some trade paperbacks, I was originally thinking of the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. Those had just come out, and I thought, well, okay, I could get in on this, but would it be worth it? Now, some of those early volumes were super cheap, but then, like the second volume, they bumped up the price. And so I kind of did a cost analysis and decided that if I get some of the epics used or with discounts when they first come out, that was just as much or cheaper than the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. I thought, okay, this is what leaned me into the epics, was it was going to be better value. But yeah, you're right. In the last year or so, they have been raising the volume, and well, I'm in it now, right? I've committed myself to this format, so granted, no one says I do have to buy all these things. I don't need to. But I have the ability and I have the desire, and now I need to find the time. Uh, but uh, yeah, it will get to a point where I'll be like me back in middle school in the Clone Saga, right? Too much is coming out for too much dollars, and I'm probably gonna have to back off.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a Sleepwalker Epic Collection that gets announced for this back half of 2026, but the cover price is $60,
Yeah, no one's gonna
I'm
buy that.
skipping that. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting. So
As much as I want the weird stuff like that, I know that's not going to sell a much to justify that cost. Um,
yeah.
but that's what it is. All right, Stoger, any other thoughts?
Nope, I think we're good. I think like we're gonna try and do shows like this, and we'll put a little bit more production quality and effort into them. You did a great job with pulling up that viewer, and I'll try and pull my weight and pull together some things. But I think as we go forward, if people like this, we're gonna continue to do it. So
Yeah, and we've got ideas for other things too to maybe have some regular segments. We might need to be better about being a little quicker about it because this is going to be a long one. But we're experimenting. This is our experimental phase, right? All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching, again, we've got the one shots coming out every day for the reading club with the X-Men comics. Once a month, we'll do the full read, rate, and review of a full epic collection. Again, this Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern, we're going to do Avengers West Coast Volume 1. And then, this might be your last chance. Go check out the poll for what we're going to read next. After Avengers West Coast, I believe it is Daredevil Volume 8. And then I think we are going to have to find out what comes out after that. You can do that on the poll. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next time.
have a good one.